What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bilbron Bafflestone. So today we're having another episode of my character build series, this time presenting to you the Bugbear Elephant Rider. So this kooky build is something of a follow-up to my last video, a deep dive on mounted combat tactics, in which I said that, if you were to get on an elephant, that can be really good. And so I thought I would follow it up with a really cool build to show how riding an elephant can be really good. And I have to say, I am super happy with this build. Went through a lot of iterations, thought about a lot of different ways to approach it, went down a few paths and then encountered a few late redundancies and lack of synergies, and man, had to start over. But what I ended up with is super clean, and it includes a couple of killer combos that come online at level 2. So yeah, really interesting build here. Very happy to present it to you. As always, the character sheet for the build is linked in the description below, so feel free to check it out, and that way you can, see everything all together with all of the spells and, yada, yada, yada. And please like, subscribe, share, check out the Patreon if you want to support the channel. And you know what, if I might be so bold, even maybe mention the channel in discourse about Dungeons & Dragons on Reddit or Twitter or Facebook. Maybe get the name of the channel out there. That would be super cool. Although, of course, don't feel any pressure to do so. That's just what I would like, but I'm not about controlling people. But if you want, and if it's easy for you, that would be a lot of help to the channel. So, without further ado, let's check out the Bugbear Elephant Rider. So I have put the basic setup on the screen, and you can see what we're doing here. We see that the Bugbear Elephant Rider is unsurprisingly a bugbear with Strength 17, Dex 10, Con 16, Intelligence 8, Wisdom 14, and Charisma 8. As a bugbear, they get Dark Vision, Long-Limbed, and Surprise Attack. And as always, I'll be comparing our DPR to a DPR baseline of Agonizing Blast plus Hex, hitting 60% of the time. And I should mention I present this in modular form so that you can see what you're doing round to round. If you want to know your total DPR over the course of, say, a 5-round battle, you're going to have to do a little bit of additional math. Say, okay, I cast a defensive spell on round 1 and then I attack 4 times, right? You have to do the math. But I give you the modular numbers so that you can do that, which I just think is much better. See my recent video about DPR and build evaluation. So this build only works if the rider occupies a chosen square on the mount. You also need to work out with your DM how the action economy is shared or not between the rider and the mount. So see my deep dive series video on mounted combat tactics for more info. See also Treant Monk's video on called the Mountain Combat Guide. I will have the link to that in the description as well, because these are really critical issues that you've got to get straightened out before you can roll out really any kind of mounted character, because it's going to have a huge impact on the decisions you make about that character. It doesn't really matter so much to this build how you share the action economy, but it is critical that you place the rider on the mount and you don't use the always at the center or the blob method. This method is the rules as written, so we should be good with that. And this is a very playable build. It comes online very quickly. Levels 2 through 8, you just get amazing power bumps at every level. And the power curve of this build is really front-loaded because the elephant is really powerful in the early tiers. However, as the power of the elephant dips relative to our enemies as we climb in level, we ourselves will be getting more powerful with each level. So this build is consistently effective all the way into tier 4. And as I said, I considered tons of alternatives and iterations and approaches, but I settled on this one as most optimal. I thought about going with a barbarian approach using ancestral guardians, thought about dual lances, I ran a bunch of numbers, I thought about lots and lots of different ways. The way that I settled on, though, is really elegant, clean, simple, and powerful as heck. So let's take a look at level 1. And we can see that Bugbear Elephant Rider is starting out as an Order Cleric. We don't have an elephant yet, as we're only level 1 and we can't afford one. And while this build has 3 different classes involved, I'm starting with Cleric for wisdom saves. Fighters tend to have a hole in wisdom saves, so this is nice to plug it, and concentration saves aren't as important to this character due to the way the build is constructed. Order Clerics come with Voice of Authority, and Voice of Authority is an early key to this build as it's able to proc our elephant's reaction attack. We'll talk about that at level 2 when we actually get an elephant, but we're going to be starting with 3 cantrips, Guidance, Toll the Dead, and Mending. We are going to get 3 preps plus our domain preps, so Command, Heroism, Sanctuary, Healing Word, and Bless. Guidance is self-explanatory, one of the best cantrips in the game. You always add it when you have the chance. Toll the Dead to give us a ranged save option for necrotic damage. Mending for utility repairs to armor and weapons. Command and Heroism came with the domain, but Command is excellent for forcing opportunity attacks. It's one of the best spells in the game because of that. And Heroism is solid. I can see casting this sometimes. We put it on our elephant, it will be getting 2 temporary hit points at the start of each round, so a nice little buff to take the edge off of any damage it might be taking. It's also nice versus creatures that impose the Frighten condition, but more importantly, it will trigger the Voice of Authority reaction attack from our elephant. So again, we're going to talk about that in a minute. We took Sanctuary as a bonus action, no concentration defense for our elephant. This will be a primary tactic for us starting at level 2 when we get our elephant. Do note, however, you can't combo Sanctuary with Voice of Authority, as the reaction attack would end the Sanctuary. The Sanctuary does take effect first, and then the reaction attack would occur, and that would immediately end the Sanctuary, so don't do that. We added Healing Word as a bonus action ranged healing option, one of the best spells in the game because of that. But again, it will also trigger Voice of Authority and proc a reaction attack from our elephant or an ally that we've used it on. We took Bless as one of the most powerful buffs in the game, and it's intended mostly for precasting, but if we do cast it in combat, it will proc the Voice of Authority elephant reaction attack. Again, Voice of Authority prompting the elephant reaction attack is a key combo for us. In any case, Bless is also nice to combo with Great Weapon Master, which we will be picking up later, and then we'll be able to get that power attack off with more accuracy. Our weapon will be a spear. We do have a 10-foot reach with our long-limbed ability, but our damage isn't amazing. Level 1, we're just going to try and get through it. We'll at least have some survivability, as our armor will be chainmail plus shield, because Order Clerics do get heavy armor. And round 1 and 2 will be to attack, and we will Bless, Command, or Sanctuary opportunistically. At level 2, we pick up our first level of Fighter and add Interception as our fighting style and Second Wind. Our elephant is now online and will be the centerpiece of all of our tactics going forward. We have Long-Limbed plus a Halberd for 15-foot reach, which allows us to attack any creature adjacent to our elephant, even if we're on the opposite side of it. The elephant is a CR4 creature, so absolutely elite in Tier 1, still excellent in Tier 2, it's solid in Tier 3, and it's serviceable in Tier 4. It's a huge creature that controls a lot of space, it can carry multiple party members if need be, and its strong attack and 76 hit points is crazy good for level 2. Its attack bonus is +8, which is way better than the PC average of +5 all the way up until level 8. It does 3d8 plus 6 damage per opportunity attack. The DPR figures are in the column. And it has 8 hit dice and recovers d12 plus 3 per hit dice during a short rest. So this thing's going to have 3 to 5 times the hit points of a PC in these early levels. Going to be pretty difficult to kill and is going to be doing a ton of damage. Our primary focus is keeping our elephant alive, as it's non-renewable. It is listed as a common mount in the player's handbook, but if it dies in the middle of an adventure, it's going to be difficult for you going forward. So most of our build is centered around keeping our elephant alive. Now, talking about playing with an elephant, obviously this build is suboptimal in some campaigns. If there's limited markets where you just can't buy elephants, it's not going to work. And elephants are obviously not ideal for dungeon crawling or cramped adventuring. For example, I play in an Underdark campaign, and an elephant just isn't going to work too well. I have a hard enough time squeezing my large phantom steed through some of these tunnels. But that said, you can work with it. If you're entering a dungeon and it's not like your campaign is always in a dungeon, you can bring along a large mount too, a warhorse or a steeder or something, and they can just trail along behind the elephant, and then you can swap to it when you need a little bit more maneuverability. You can possibly get the party wizard to cast you a phantom steed. I might be the biggest fan of phantom steed in all of Dungeons & Dragons. It's no resources lost to him, and if it helps the party out, he's probably down for it. And if you buy him the scroll, I'm sure he'll be fine with that. You can also make do with summons from caster allies. For example, Conjure Animals is awesome for summoning cool mounts. You could also get your DM to give you a renewable mount of some kind as a magic item. And we can also consider the Find Steed spell on Spellwrought tattoos. I don't usually like to talk about magic items in my builds, but I've got to point out for a mounted build that Find Steed Spellwrought tattoos are only uncommon, and they're consumable, meaning they should cost around 250 gold, going by the price charts in the Dungeon Master's Guide. So this build is helped immensely by a consistent source of these, or even if you're rich, the rare Find Greater Steed, which goes for around 2,500 gold. But keep in mind, these have no attunement, so you can get as many as you want. And so if you have the opportunity to pick up a few of these and find a tattoo artist that makes them, I would just dump all my gold and get as many as I could. But ideally, you'll find a renewable resource for that sort of thing. Maybe have a shop that you frequent or whatever. But as long as the DM's not playing games with the availability of a common mount from the player's handbook, they are really affordable. They're half the cost of a warhorse at only 200 gold. And then you can get barding for it, which is pretty affordable if you're getting chainmail. It's only 300 gold, and it's only 800 for splint. And 6,000 for plate is quite a big chunk of change, but AC 16 or 17 for your elephant is still fantastic. Also, make sure you get a military saddle so you can get advantage on your saves if you are ever knocked from your mount, because it's just an outlay of gold, so why not? Better safe than sorry. As mentioned, we are switching our weapon to the halberd, and we are switching our armor to splint mail, since I presume that's all we can afford, but definitely get plate mail as soon as possible. If you can afford it now, definitely get it. Our fighting style will be interception to protect our elephant, and we are never going to swap this out. Even though it doesn't scale all that well into the higher levels, I considered swapping it out, but to me the benefits of the new fighting style were only marginal to this build, whereas interception still removing 8 to 12 average damage from our elephant every round with our reaction is still great. I mean, it's elite in tier 1 and 2, and I think it's still good even in tier 3 and 4, especially since we don't have much using our reaction. And based on our playstyle, we are not going to really need the other fighting styles. Second Wind is always a nice bonus action heal option. And so starting at this level, we have two primary tactics. Our primary defensive tactic, which is the one that I think should be our first option, is to attack from safety at the center of our elephant with our massive reach while protecting it with Sanctuary. This is an amazingly powerful tactic. It basically allows us to attack at will while enjoying the benefits of Sanctuary and never triggering the end conditions. Because we're safe at the center of our elephant, nothing can attack us. They have to attack the elephant, but if we have a Sanctuary up, they are going to drastically be reduced in the amount of damage that they can inflict on our elephant, and we can't be attacked at all. I mean, we can presume the Sanctuary is going to block like 60% of any attempted attacks on the elephant. And then if one slips through, guess what? We've got interception, and we are going to block that damage. If our elephant does take damage, guess what? We're going to cast Healing Word to bring it back up and proc its Voice of Authority reaction attack. So this combo is so good. I am really happy that we can run Sanctuary from the center of an elephant. But do remember that Sanctuary doesn't work with the elephant's reaction attack. So if you want to take advantage of that, you are going to want to use our primary offensive tactic. Now remember that controlled mounts still get reactions, so this is all good. We can't combo it with Sanctuary, so we're going to have to use it with discretion. But at 3d8 plus 6 at level 2, that can be a fight ender right there. So you might want to use this based on the situation. We can currently proc this elephant reaction attack reliably with Voice of Authority when we are casting Healing Word, Bless, or Heroism on the elephant. Bless is probably our best option. We can cast that in round 1 and get the elephant opportunity attack. So that's a really effective round 1 when you're level 2. But Healing Word is also nice because that's a bonus action, and being able to trigger that attack on a bonus action can be nice. We can also proc it with a command, but this is inferior if we're just talking about the elephant because 1, it costs an action, and 2, it allows a save, whereas the other methods reliably proc the attack. So don't use command when it's just the elephant. Use it only if an enemy is surrounded by multiple enemies, and then we can use a single command to generate multiple opportunity attacks on the same creature. But again, we are going to be, with this offensive tactic, staying at the center of our elephant, more or less in total safety, and smacking things with our 15-foot reach. Our round 1, if we are going defensive, is to attack and then place a bonus action sanctuary on the elephant. And again, I think that's what I would do as my preferred first option. But if you want to go offensive, you can just cast Bless or Heroism on round 1 to get the elephant to proc its reaction, and then you are attacking straight up there on out. Alright, at level 3, we get a simple level after the complicated first couple of levels. We add a second level of fighter and add Action Surge. Action Surge will give us a better Nova, and it's also an excellent option to get Bless on the field. Otherwise, no change to our round 1 and round 2 approach. Level 4 is a big level for us. We add another level of fighter to become Battle Masters. We add Combat Superiority for 3 maneuvers: Commander's Strike, Maneuvering Strike, and Precision Attack. Commander's Strike will be our primary option for use of our superiority dice because we can use it to proc our elephant's reaction attack. It is resource intensive. It calls for 1 of our attacks and our bonus action, but we have no bonus action clog really, and are going to have many opportunities to use that bonus action to proc Commander's Strike, and the superiority die is added to the elephant's damage, so it will do a total of 48 plus 6, or 24 damage on average. That alone is triple baseline, so yeah, pretty good. We added Maneuvering Strike as an elite ally move mechanic. It's almost unique in 5th edition. It is super powerful to be able to incur defensive movement out of turn for our allies, but don't forget we can also use it on our elephant. And so if we're surrounded by like 8 creatures or something that are all going to make opportunity attacks on us, if we try and retreat, boom, Maneuvering Strike, we're clear, and we are back in control. We added Precision Attack because we are eventually going to be adding Great Weapon Master, and Precision Attack is awesome to combo with Great Weapon Master. At this point, I have officially switched our armor to Plate Mail. I presume we can afford it. And for the math geeks, note that our DPR dipped a little because the target AC bumped and our attack bonus didn't. We are now going to be mixing in our battle maneuvers into our round 1 and round 2. So if we're going defensive, we're going to keep doing the same thing. If we go offensive, we now have the option of Commander's Strike to get that elephant reaction attack working. At 4 times per short rest, that's going to generate a tremendous amount of damage for us. At level 5, we add a 4th level of fighter to get our first feat, so Mounted Combatant is now online. A critical tactic for us. You may have noticed that I've highlighted all of our key tactics in blue. Mounted Combatant is going to get us attacks at advantage, always on, no resource consumption, versus large or smaller enemies because our elephant is huge, and that is amazeballs for a martial character. Always on attacks at advantage is mwah, love it. Now note for defense that we can go prone on our mount so that we are attacked by ranged at disadvantage, and our own attacks are going to be normal because we have attacks at advantage for Mounted Combatant, and so this can be a good trade-off if you are really under some heavy fire. Regardless, always go prone when you're casting or doing anything that isn't an attack, because why not? You're on an elephant, they cannot attack you with melee, they have to use ranged, so take advantage of going prone. It only makes sense. Because of Mounted Combatant, our elephant now has evasion, although it does have a bad dex, so it's not going to have great saves, but it helps. And more importantly, we can redirect attacks at our elephant towards ourselves to manage its hit points and keep it alive. So now when we're on offense, we are going to sometimes move away from the center of the elephant and move to the edge so that we can redirect melee attacks away from the elephant and towards us. If we're facing ranged, we're just going to go prone, and we can do that from the center. Now, this is just another option for us. We will retain the defensive option of just continuing to protect it with Sanctuary and attacking from the middle. I personally think this should still be our go-to, but alternate between tactics opportunistically. That's why you want options, and that's why we have options. There are no change to our round 1 and 2 approaches. Then at level 6, we add a 5th level of fighter to get extra attack. Always fun to add extra attack. It's going to boost our DPR. It's going to allow us to now make 1 attack and proc Commander's Strike with the other attack plus our bonus action. And we can combo it with Action Surge for an impressive Nova. Action Surge always looks better when you have extra attack. So no change to our round 1 and 2 approach, we're just attacking more. And then at level 7, we add a 6th level of fighter to get our 2nd feat, which will be Great Weapon Master to boost our DPR. And this is an awesome one because it combos with Mounted Combatant. We're getting constant attacks at advantage for that power attack. And it combos with Bless and Precision attack so that we connect more on the Great Weapon Master power attacks. So Great Weapon Master really elegantly works into our build here. No change to our round 1 and 2 approach, but we are definitely better at it. And then we get another interesting boost at level 8. We are adding 1 level of Barbarian. This will get us Rage twice a day and Unarmored Defense. Rage for resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing is one of our key combos going forward. We also get a DPR bump, but I don't care so much about that. What matters to me is that we have a massive defensive option to combo with Mounted Combatant when we're redirecting attacks to ourselves. It's only 2 times a day, so we have to use it with discretion. But when we kick it in, it's going to be awesome to combine with Mounted Combatant and really keep the heat off of our elephant. Now note with Rage you can't be wearing heavy armor, so we are going to have to drop to half plate armor when we are using Rage, and then switch back to heavy armor when our 2 Rages per day have expired. Luckily we ride an elephant, so there's not going to be too much trouble carrying extra armor around. And while this will be annoying, what can you do? That's why we get paid the big bucks, right? Now, unfortunately, Unarmored Defense doesn't help us. We dump Dex, so it's not very good for this build. But by level 8, our build concept is now more or less online. We're going to continue to improve, but there's not going to be too many tactical changes, except for one last major piece that comes online at level 12. That's really, really cool. But not having that doesn't impact the playability of this. It's basically put together at this point. We attack from the center of our elephant that you can't touch because of Sanctuary, and you can't touch us, and we've got a 15-foot reach, and we've got Great Weapon Master, and we're attacking at advantage because of Mounted Combatant, and we can proc our elephant's attack. I mean, our offenses and defenses are just so good. We are crushing things. We've been crushing things. We should be completely used to crushing things at this point. Now keep in mind also that Rage is a bonus action, so it's going to have to be managed in terms of your action economy. I've put down below round 1 and 2 options for offense and defense that incorporates Rage. At level 9, we're back to adding Cleric levels, so we are Cleric 2. To our preps, we add protection from good and evil. It's a decent situational defense, but it's mostly just a placeholder because we're dropping it at the next level. And our Channel Divinity Orders demand is okay. I guess I can see using it in certain situations. So I'll keep my eye out for those situations, but I see myself mostly using this as a way to regain a spell slot, which is always good. But no new changes to our tactics for round 1 or 2. At level 10, we add a 3rd level of Cleric and 2nd level spells. To our preps, we add Hold Person and Zone of Truth, plus Aid and Silence, and we drop Protection from Good and Evil. Hold Person and Zone of Truth came with the domain. Both are situationally useful. And Aid is nice for buffing ourself and our elephant with more hit points, plus 1 more ally can get in on that. Casting it in combat will proc the Voice of Authority Elephant Reaction attack, and it does have an 8-hour duration, so rest trick it if possible to get the spell slot back. You'll have to talk to your DM and see how he feels about rest tricking, but rules as written, you can do it. And we grab Silence because it's just such an elite spell for shutting down enemy casters. As a marshal, I really love to have something like that in my back pocket. Just be aware we will have to combo it with grapple so they can't get out of the AoE of the silence. No change to our round 1 and 2 approaches. At level 11, we add a 4th level of Cleric. We get a cantrip, which will be Spare the Dying. To our preps, we'll add Lesser Restoration. Both of these are pretty self-explanatory, really nice heal options for ourself, our elephant, or our allies. Note that Lesser Restoration will proc the Voice of Authority Elephant reaction attack. And we pick up a new feat, which will be Slasher, which will bump our strength to 18 and give us a couple of nice little riders in terms of reducing our enemy move and imposing attacks at disadvantage. I could have gone Polearm Mastery here, but I decided not to, as the bonus action attack would clog, as we have lots of other things that would use our bonus action, like Great Weapon Master, Commander's Strike, Sanctuary, Rage, Healing Word, Second Wind. We're just not going to be able to get that extra attack off often enough to make it worth it. Although I would have really loved to get that Reach opportunity attack, but you can't have everything, and I thought Slasher was better, especially because Slasher is a half feat and bumps our strength to 18. So definitely a nice add, and we are more effective, but no changes to our approach here. Level 12 is our last big level because we make Cleric 5 and add 3rd level spells. To our preps, we add Mass Healing Word, Slow, Spirit Guardians, and Revivify, dropping Silence. And these are awesome spells to add. Mass Healing Word and Slow came with the domain, but I am not complaining. Both are situationally useful, particularly Slow versus multiple enemies with multi-attack. Oh, it's so good in that scenario. See my Showdown series video on Hypnotic Pattern versus Slow for more info about how great Slow is. Mass Healing Word can be good on occasion, and it will proc the Voice of Authority Elephant reaction attack. But most importantly, Spirit Guardians is now online for massive combat boosts to DPR and control. Note that the DPR figures in the column are per creature, and it has a huge AoE, so you can presume 2, if not 3 creatures in that area of effect, and you're doing almost 11 damage to each one just from Spirit Guardians, while we are still pumping out 15-foot reach Great Weapon Master Power Attack Halberds attacks. So yeah, that's fun. Creatures are going to have a really hard time approaching our elephant due to the difficult terrain. And this is basically the final component to our ultimate build concept. We have both Spirit Guardians and Rage. Now obviously we can't combine it with Rage, but they're not intended to work together at the same time. We only have 2 Rages per day. And for various reasons, I didn't want to pursue the Barbarian path. So this is going to give us something to add to that, but is different. We're going to have to do different strategies for each one. Shield Guardians is for sitting at the center of our elephant and crushing enemies from safety. And Rage is for sitting at the edge of the elephant and redirecting attacks away from our elephant towards ourselves. I personally would probably start with Rage and then put the heavy armor on after our first 2 battles of the day so that we can cast. And the fact that our armor class is only 15 when we have heavy armor, or sorry, medium armor on, isn't such a big deal if we're sitting at the center of an elephant and nobody can hit us. So I would start with the half plate and the lower AC and use up Rage in the first 2 battles of the day, and then switch over to heavy armor and go with Shield Guardians the rest of the day. We added Revivify because Revivify is amazing. Bringing people back from the dead, and specifically our elephant back from the dead, is going to be awesome. And note that we can upcast Aid at 3rd level now to get plus 10 hit points to ourself, our elephant, and an ally. Again, 8-hour duration, so we can rest Trinket to get the spell slot back if allowed. But at this level, we also get a 3rd level spell back for our Channel Divinity. So we can just do this to start the day, use Channel Divinity to immediately get our slot back, and we're off and running with an extra 30 hit points split up between allies. No change to our round 1 and 2 approach. At level 13, we add a 7th level of Fighter, going back to that progression, and add Know Your Enemy and an additional superiority die. Know Your Enemy is useless, but I will take the extra superiority die. No change to our approach. At level 14, we add an 8th level of Fighter and get another feat, which will be Sentinel. Sentinel plus Long Limbed is an amazing add for our build. We have 15-foot reach, so control a ton of space, and we will often trigger the opportunity attack for moving within our reach as they close from 15 feet to 10 feet, and then we can smack them with our OA, and that drops their move to 0 before they can get into melee range. Love that combo. No change to our general approach, however. At level 15, we add a 9th level of Fighter and pick up Indomitable, so we get a little bit of a defensive boost, but no tactical changes. At level 16, we get improved combat superiority for making level 10 as fighters, but no new tactical changes. At level 17, we get fighter 11 and add extra attack ×2. Awesome add. Our Nova's going to be even better with Action Surge and 3 attacks from our pole arm with Great Weapon Master. So yeah, that is tasty, but no tactical changes, just excited for a chance to blow up on somebody. At level 18, we make 12th level in Fighter. We add another ASI, so we max out our strength, but no new tactical changes. And at level 19, I'm going back to Cleric levels. Could have finished out as Fighter to get 1 more feat, but I decided we were going to get more value by going with a couple of Cleric levels. So here we are going to add Aura of Vitality to our preps as a decent healing option. And we get Embodiment of the Law, which is pretty nice to make Command and Bless a bonus action. Bless especially pretty amazing as a bonus action cast. So a nice little bump at 19th level. Now note that we can add these last 2 Cleric levels at levels 13 and 14 if you want different tier 3 playability. That would get us more spell slots for Spirit Guardians, because we only have 2 for most of our career. And Embodiment of the Law would come online at level 14 if you really like that bonus action Bless and Command option. I personally chose to go in this direction so that extra attack ×2 and Sentinel would come online 2 levels earlier, but adding the Cleric levels at 13 and 14 is also a perfectly valid approach. I kind of wavered on which way to go, and I finally decided to go this way, but I did want to mention that other way to consider. Finally, at level 20, we add a 7th level of Cleric for 4th level spells. To our preps, we add Compulsion, Locate Creature, Death Ward, and Freedom of Movement, dropping Aura of Vitality. And so Compulsion and Locate Creature came with the domain. Compulsion is nice to combo with Embodiment of the Law. You can make it a bonus action cast. And Locate Creature can be nice to find our elephant, or find an elephant, or find any creature, so some situational utility uses there. We added Death Ward to protect our elephant or ourself. That is my preferred option for my 1 4th level slot. But note that it is an 8-hour duration, so we can rest trick it to get the spell slot back, and then we would have that slot available to use on Freedom of Movement when we need it, and that's just awesome. It's an elite maneuverability option. And again, if we cast it on our elephant, we can get that Voice of Authority reaction attack. Now that we have 4th level spells, we can upcast Aid at 4th level to get plus 15 hit points for ourselves, our elephant, and an ally. And again, 8-hour duration, so rest trick it if you can. No changes to our round 1 and 2 approach. It's been working for us all this time, so we're just going to keep it up. So that's it. That is Bugbear Elephant Rider. A really powerful build that comes online at level 2 with a really crazy good power curve for those tiers, that has amazing defenses with the option of casting Sanctuary on its elephant and sitting in the middle where no one can get to it, while it's still smacking the crap out of stuff with its 15-foot reach, pumping power attack after power attack through it. I mean, I'm pretty happy with this. It's a Cleric, so it got some good spell casting abilities that will supplement the character. I'm very, very pleased with this. And if you can get away with, talking your DM into letting you ride an elephant and doing it, I think it could be fun to play. But that said, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below if you have any comments, criticisms, ideas to improve the build. I'm always very curious to hear. And regardless, thank you so much for watching. This has been the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bilbron Bafflestone. See you next time.